Welcome you all for the second session of the day. Now I would like to introduce the speaker of this session, Dr. M. Mathirajan sir. He is the Chief Research Scientist at the Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He received MSc degree in Mathematics from Madurai Kamaraj University and postgraduate diploma in Operation Research from College of Engineering, Guindy Anna University. He also received MS Engineering by Research degree in Applied Operation Research and PhD in Operation Management from IISc. He has postdoctoral fellowship at Singapore. He was a visiting consultant at Sultan Qubas University, Oman. His PhD thesis was the best thesis and was awarded as the prestigious MS Gopalan Award of 2002 at the annual convocation of the Operation Research Society of India. He was awarded as a Fellow of Operation Research Society of India by Operation Research Society of India during 2018. He is the Vice President of Analytics Society of India and ORSI. He has published over 16 research articles in both international and national journals, 20 research articles in edited book, 15 research articles in refined conference proceeding, and presented over 80 research papers, both international and national conferences. He is a co-author for 2 books, 4 edited volumes, and a monography. Since 2004, Dr. Mathirajan sir is guiding PhD scholars at IISc, Bangalore. Under his guidance, so far 9 scholars obtained their PhD at IISc. Currently, 11 scholars are pursuing PhD under his guidance at IISc. Now it is over to you, sir.
Can I start, Professor Radha?
Yeah, hearty welcome to you, sir. On behalf of management of Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering and ATAL, AICT ATAL, I extend a very hearty welcome to you, sir. You can take over, sir.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you. So are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I close the video? Not necessary, no? Video is not necessary, no? From my side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not required.
Because so that the clarity may be good and then nuisance also will be less. I'll just close my video.
Fine, sir. Fine.
Okay. So I decided to give today the presentation on need of heuristic optimization and the research process in measuring the quality of the heuristic. There are 2 reasons for that. The number one, most of the time when you do some research, today, because of the complexity of the problem, you have to go for both mathematical model and followed with the heuristic development, and then you have to go and measure the quality of the heuristics. By and large, whatever the thesis I have come across from various universities, there is a kind of lacuno in terms of measuring the quality of the heuristic. Not only in the research thesis, also even when our own people are developing a good heuristics, due to various reasons, they end up by going to some kind of low level or medium level journal. One of the reasons could be their research process, whatever they carried out, that is not acceptable by so-called popular or top level journals. To give some kind of idea what type of acceptable quality in terms of measuring the quality of the heuristics, I wanted to give it as a kind of one main agenda here. Before getting into that one, I'll just quickly give the need of heuristic optimization. Starts with research perspectives and then quickly give some kind of introduction about heuristic. And then our latest publication related to easiest topic for all people, irrespective of whether mathematics people or non-mathematics people, is that related to transportation problem. In 2021, it is under online version. It is there in a journal, so anyone can refer it. So there I'll walk through kind of process. How do I measure the quality of the heuristic proposed by us? Hope that will be useful for in the end. Most of the people try to follow similar to this type of research process so that you can get a good. So generally, when people are going for heuristics. Most of us, including all the participants and including me and including some of my research scholars, invariably they develop mathematical model for various research problem being addressed. When I say often research problem, it does not mean that one it's not applicable to the industries. Even industry side also, when the people are developing heuristics, before applying to the heuristics, they have to completely check whether the heuristic is good or bad, or on an average, how it is going to be good. That they have to check it before even applying to that one, because one of the reason for making this statement is that heuristic is sensitive to the number goes into that one. When I say number goes to that one, value for all the variables which are part of the heuristic algorithm. That is very, very important. That's the reason the checking or evaluation of the heuristic is very, very important. Whether it is a research problem or is a research process or is in the real life practice, they have to do that one. Okay, first of all, when the people are going for heuristic type of things, especially when you come to the research side, we normally develop mathematical model and try to establish whether the mathematical model is computationally feasible to apply to the so-called real life problem, whatever we aim for it. Okay, once if you are developing a mathematical model successfully applied to the real life problem, at least on a tiny versions, one part of the research is over. Okay, when I say tiny versions, you are not in a position to use for real life situations. Okay, that's why demonstration of the usability of mathematical model, in case if somebody wants to go even not only tiny version, even if they are able to demonstrate in the real life situations, okay, it's very good. Mathematical model development is one contributions, applied to the real life problem is another contribution. You can think of some kind of two contributing chapter, but that may not be sufficient for thesis. At least you may have to give some more variations. Easiest one is your own, any mathematical model generally will be the set of assumptions. Without assumption, no mathematical model generally will be there. So that means some of your own assumption you can relax. Whenever you are relaxing some of the assumptions, your real life problem and your modeling, whatever the problem, that goes close to each other. So that means you can relax the formula, assumptions. You can get some more variation of the mathematical model, some more demonstration of the mathematical model using either tiny example or real life example. This is one type of stories. But sometimes you may not be in a position to go for relaxing the assumption, because once if you relax the assumption, you will not be able to solve it due to various reasons. One, maybe it may become a linear to non-linear model. If it becomes a linear to non-linear model, then computationally you will not be able to solve it. Or it may be linear programming to integer linear programming problem. That again, it's computationally very difficult to solve for real life problem, because most of the 0-1 integer programming problem or even integer linear programming problem is computationally intractable when the size of the problem keeps on increasing. That means you need to go for alternative methods if the computational intractability comes into the picture. So generally those type of problems are called NP-hard problem, non-deterministic and non-polynomial in terms of computational time point of view. People call those, any combinatorial optimization problem comes under the category of NP-hard problem. Of course, you all must be having some thorough idea about NP-hard problems. Assuming that one, if the problem becomes NP-hard, though you have developed the mathematical model, beautifully developed, most of the mathematical model you can develop for NP-hard problem. For example, scheduling problem, okay, any standard problem, you can easily formulate it. Once if it becomes a kind of integer linear programming problem, it will become a NP-hard problem. So there you need to go for alternative methods. Generally, alternative methods are called, in general, it's called as a heuristic method, depending upon the school or background of the people. They call the heuristic method as simply called as a heuristic algorithm. Another person call it as artificial intelligence techniques. Another person call it as a simulation. This variation will be there across the school, and depending upon the purpose in which you are developing alternative methods. So the alternative methods may be for prescribing something, or that time it's called prescriptive related heuristic methods, or predictive purpose. It may be predictive related heuristic method. It may be descriptive purpose. That time it's descriptive related heuristic method. The only one the heuristic method is the one we can be used. You can develop any of these three type of analytics domain. Whereas if you develop a forecasting method, that cannot be used for other than predicting something. If I develop a linear programming model, it's only for prescribing purpose. Okay, so that's why most of the mathematical model either related to any one of these analytics purpose. Whereas heuristic is the only type of method can be used for all the three type of areas. Okay, so but after developing that one, how do I make sure that whether my heuristic is good or bad? That is the important things people need to follow. Some kind of rigorous, serious research process. That is, we call it as a performance evaluation of the proposed heuristic method. How do you do that one? In case if you are developing a heuristic method completely for a particular your own research problem, and that multiple heuristic problem algorithm you are developing, and then you can call it as a one contributing chapter. Then performance evaluation also you can call it as another contributing chapters. But generally, after developing a heuristic method, you need to go and compare with some X or Y. That means some benchmark procedure you need to develop or you need to identify. So when I say that one, identify in the sense, your problem configuration and the existing problem configuration is supposed to be the same. So then only there is a possibility of having existing algorithm so that you can compare with your algorithms. But if all the problem configuration, what you are trying to address, it's totally new, then generally you don't have any existing solution for that. That means you need to develop your own benchmark procedures. So benchmark procedure is a very, very important component in performance evaluation of the heuristic method as the first important issue. How do I get the benchmark procedure? Okay. Second one is test data. The test data may be having, if you are fortunate enough, you can get some kind of company data. And also company data, so you need to have a multiple different type of data, different period of data, different situations of the data kind of things, or multiple organization. If you are able to get the data, then you can authentically say that your heuristic is going to be good. But that type of data getting is not very easy. So that way, that is called as a primary data. So that means sometimes the earlier researcher would have introduced the benchmark data in the web sources. That means you need to take a lot of benchmark data. For example, if you are going for clustering algorithms, okay, pattern recognition algorithm, or even vehicle routing algorithm, traveling salesman problem algorithm, there are plenty of real life problems. Already people have established some kind of benchmark data. At least you have to use the benchmark data. Even that is not available, then you can develop your own experimental design. That experimental design is very, very important. Most of the problem, whatever we are trying to address, assume that one, every research has some kind of new components. The new components, there are three types of new components in the research you can have it. One is problem itself is a new. When I say problem itself is a new, already my problem, whatever I defined, 80% of the configuration only people address, I added another 20% of the configuration. What I mean that 80%, 20%, just for colloquially, I can say that one, already the people have considered 8 variables, kind of input variables. I'm considering 10 variables. Okay, that means previously those 2 variables, those a researcher would assume that one not influencing, that's assumption. Now I'm relaxing the assumption, so my configuration is enlarged. That means my problem itself is a new. That means for that, no, it may be having a primary data possibilities there, but there won't be any benchmark data, or there won't be any experimental design. Even if there is a benchmark data, at least for those 2 variables, I have to add some values. I can use that existing benchmark data. I can add some new values for the 2 variables, whatever I added to my new problem situations. So another one is the experimental design. What is the purpose of experimental design? To generate suitable test data. How do I generate suitable test data? Assuming that one, the primary data, I'm not able to get it from the organizations. At least if I know how, if they are allowing me to observe the data, each and every variable, how the data is varying over the period, if I know that one, even if they give the past data, I can fit into some kind of probability distributions. Each and every variable, I can assume this is this particular variable follows uniform distribution, particular variable follows some other distribution, then randomly I can generate. So experimental design is setting all the parameters and values for the values of the parameters. And then to get the values of the parameters, you must find out some kind of suitable probability distribution in case if you have a past data, or you can assume something. That is important part. Most of the time it is missing there. And then performance measure, how do I compare it? So for example, if you're having your own method, and then if you know benchmark method, then I can compare both. That is called deviations. How much deviated from the benchmark procedures, or what is the error, you can call it. If it is a forecasting method, you can call it as a error, right? What is the forecasting values, what is the actual values, the difference is called error. Okay, our general terminology, you can call it the deviations. The deviation also, sometimes we can calculate only the numerator, like your method minus existing method. If I do the same thing, your method minus existing method divided by existing method, that is called relative deviations. Because the advantage of calculating relative deviation comparing with the deviation is The deviation values interpretation somewhat difficult when you see that one. It is absolute values, whereas this relative deviation comes between 0 to 1. Even the 0 to 1, the values are very, very small. Better to convert into relative percentage deviation so that you can say that how much percentage you are away from the known solution or benchmark solutions. Like that, various performance measures, the standard performance measures are there. You are expected to use the standard performance measures and then analyze your results. The analysis of the result also just about 5 to 10 years before, most of the time they use only empirical analysis. That means they used to have a lot of test data and apply, and then what is the test data results and what is the benchmark data results. Then they will do analysis through the performance measures and then leave away with that one. Then they will also give the insights why their algorithm is better than the I'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to quickly give what is heuristics. Okay, there are two objectives here I'm giving. This is similar to for every real problem. Modeling is supposed to come through your experience. Modeling cannot be taught easily. Okay, modeling can be done through experience. Only similarly, heuristic construction of the heuristic also has to come through experience. Okay, so another one is to demonstrate the research process heuristic optimizations. So saying that one, the heuristic word often we may be using, or you can see that one on a daily basis. Without knowing, we are following some kind of rule of thumb. It's nothing but a heuristic. Okay, you can just give quickly some example. It's not my own example. It has been taken from the textbook very long back. It has been 1659, if I'm right. So generally, as soon as when you are going out of the house, immediately you'll come back and take your umbrella and go back. What it has incurred, I mean, given the indication to your mind, today there will be a possibility of rain. When the sky is cloudy, take an umbrella to work. That is there in your mind, so immediately you are taking. That is a kind of thumb rule, or rule of thumb, you can call it. That's a heuristic. Really, if you want to follow the scientific procedure, what you have to do that one? Reading the weather report, you have to do that one. Calling weather bureau, you have to do that one. Analyzing parameter reading and so on. But nobody will do that one. Our intuition says, our experience indicates. Okay, gut feeling indicates, hey, there is a rain today. There is a possibility of rain. This is not only this intuition, gut feeling experience, not only in the daily life, even at the kitchen to the advanced business environment people are doing. Okay, for example, businessmen also, I just quickly give some idea, particularly stock market. Some people do a lot of statistical analysis, get into this stock investment. They'll go to the broker or brokerage or kind of things. Some they will go do their own thumb rule and they'll succeed most of the time. Invest and then get maximum benefit, less risk also possible. So one possible rule could be buy when prices moves rapidly in one direction with heavy volume, or sell when the goods news is out. This type of rule you can have it. So whether it's always successful or not, that is the place we have to go and prove research process you have to carry it out. Yes, this particular rule on an average 80% of the time it is successful, 90% of the time successful. That type of research process one needs to do that. Inventory control, especially if you go to small petty shop. I'm not talking about supermarket or some other place. People do their ABC classification. Within the ABC classification, they will find out what could be the replacement quantity, order quantity, everything. They'll do it in a systematic manner. But if you go to small petty shop kind of places, the guy will be knowing that, okay, as soon as a Horlicks bottle becomes 10 in the stock or 5 in the stock, he will procure it further. So how he arrived this 10 or 5, it is again based on thumb rule, based on the experience. Okay, if it arrives 5, always better to have it so that I will not get any stock out situations. Scheduling, most of the scheduling you would have studied in operations management or even day-to-day life, even in the day-to-day life, what first in, first out. So any queue gets formed, whoever is coming first, you will give a priority to them. Or scheduled jobs are to be the shortest process. processing time. There are various scheduling rules are available. So one can use it and use it. Each and every scheduling rule has its merits and demerits, but there is no guarantee of getting optimal results. Okay, like that, many are there. Okay, so depending upon that situations, you need to use a lot of additional informations and enrich your heuristic method. There only our practical experience, pressures with the practical experience people will some deeper. Okay, how do I define the heuristics? The heuristic is not a new one, first of all. It has been quite long back. The word heuristic is actually derived from a Greek word called heuriskion. If you go for English dictionary meaning, it is nothing but serving to discover. So there are various definitions are there. The simplest one is rule of thumb, okay, or calculated guesses, or intuitive judgments, or simply common sense. That's why my common sense is working better than any other. I don't want to get into any advanced methodology. People say that one. Okay. The other way of defining this one is generally heuristics are criteria. That means what is criteria? Okay, this is the rule I'm applying. Each rule is nothing but a criteria related to a specific computation and then index everything. So our method or principle which you are going to use for evaluating the various decision alternatives are available at your hand, and then finally choose relatively the better one or best one. The best, I don't want to use the word best, or efficient one, because the heuristic does not necessary to give, I mean, it does not give the best solution, but it is always trying to give close to the best result. Our objective is also to make sure that when our heuristic result is supposed to be as close as possible to the so-called optimal results. But how do I know whether that result is close to optimal? Then question mark comes, because if I am able to get optimal results, why should I go for heuristic? The argument comes. Wherever you are not able to get optimal results, then only we are going for heuristic. One reason. There are multiple reasons I'm going to explain to you. Okay, little more, another definition, I'll just skip that one. Generally, I said that one, it is not a new concept. 1969 itself, people introduced heuristic method after getting a power of computers today. All kind of powerful way people are using this heuristic method everywhere. So the terminology, artificial intelligence, simulation of human thought, heuristic problem solving. All these three terminology, there is a common name, it's called heuristic method. Okay, whether you are using artificial intelligence techniques for solving a problem, or heuristic or simple common sense rule you are collectively putting and solving a problem, or just you are simulating based on your own thumb rule, everything called as a heuristic method. But only thing, we can give one idea that in the case of simple heuristic, when you are constructing, especially for problem orientation purpose, that is called as a prescriptive related heuristic, we call it. There are, I already mentioned that one heuristic is the only one can be used for all the prescriptive purpose, predictive purpose, and descriptive purpose. Okay, I assume that I am developing some kind of heuristic method for transportation problem. So I can call it as a problem orientation heuristic. In the end, that heuristic method gives the solutions. Another person develops some kind of heuristic that is only to see what will happen for any change in parameter values. What if analysis or sensitivity analysis. That means that is simulation always describes you whatever the change in parameter happens, what will happen to the existing system. That's why in general we call it a simulation. Okay, so that means replicate thought process of a human decision maker. So that is some kind of heuristic people develop it. Then another one is called artificial intelligence. It's towards efficient use of the computer to obtain apparently intelligent behavior. But today people say that no, I am developing in artificial intelligence techniques not only for predicting purpose, it is also useful for prescriptive purpose. No problem, I will accept it, because that's the reason there is overlapping. There is overlapping kind of set theory concept. You can say that one. There is a AI techniques I am developing, and it first predict and also it prescribe. For prescriptive purpose, they would add some more heuristics. General definition for artificial intelligence, generally it is used for original definition is predictive purpose, simulation is for descriptive purpose, and problem solving heuristics are prescriptive purpose. Today, anyone can argue for it. No, I am using for simulation for prescriptive also. Yes, we are accepting there is overlapping here. So this definition takes care of it. Why heuristic method? Quickly again, of course, various reasons specific to each and every problem, there will be a reason, but it's a common reasons. One is many real life problems are either semi-structured or ill-structured. How do you know whether problem is a semi-structured or ill-structured? Okay, the question comes. The routine problem generally called as a structured problem. What do you mean routine problem? already when I say a particular problem is a routine, I know what type of data is required to solve the problem, what type of methods I have already used it. I already proven, and that method is proven to be a good method. So everything is known to me. That means the entire decision-making process for a particular problem. We call it a Simon decision-making process, or every textbook used to give some kind of step-by-step procedure for solving a problem or problem-solving steps. If all the steps associated with the problem-solving steps are very clearly, I can define for a particular problem that is called structured problems. Okay, yield structure is a totally opposite side. Either they assume that on Simon decision-making process only 3 steps are there. They grouped into 3 stages. All the 3 stages I'm not able to define clearly. That time it's called yield structured problem. In between problem is called semi-structured problems. Okay. Example we can give it for a well-structured problem is I can call it inventory problem, or distribution problem, okay, or even product mix decision-making problem, or all structured problem. When I say product mix, in a manufacturing company which manufacture multiple products using a set of resources, well, how much optimal quantity I'm supposed to produce each and everything is a well-structured problem. I can formulate a standard integer linear program problem. I can solve it and get an optimal solutions. Semi-structured, ill-structured, they used to give some kind of example. For example, for selection of CEO, or selection of vice chancellor, or selection of a director. There is no kind of systematic criteria you can follow and say so and so is good comparing to others. Okay, it's very, very difficult. Even if you're not accepting, it's not ill-structured, it's a semi-structured problems. So if it is a semi-structured problem, ill-structured problems, there only heuristic methods are mostly acceptable methods. The mathematical model, you cannot use it. In other words, most of the semi-structured, ill-structured problems, sometimes you are expected to use some qualitative input also. Once if you use some qualitative inputs, then using a mathematical model is somewhat difficult. So you need to go for alternate method, heuristic method. That's the first reason for that one. Most of the real life problems, semi-structured or ill-structured. So one of the good method is a heuristic method. The second reason is mathematical problem, whatever you are having, analytical or closed loop or iterative solution procedure is unknown. That means you have developed a mathematical model. For example, linear programming model you have developed, simplex method is available. See, in integer linear programming model you developed, branch and bound method is available. Am I right? Okay. Transportation problem you developed, initial basic feasible solution and UV method or MODI method is available. But there is a mathematical model you developed. That means you correlated all the variables, or constructed, constrained everything. But looks like mathematically you have constructed or reflected the entire situations. But there is no standard iterative procedure is possible. One example we can say that one, most of the almost all dynamic programming problem, you put every problem into dynamic problem, most of the problem, once if it is decomposable and then possible to reconnect it everything recursively. Assume that type of situations, there is no standard method like branch and bound method or linear programming, simplex method available for solving every dynamic program problem. Every dynamic program problem, you have to develop algorithm around that recursive model. So that type of problems, better to go for heuristic. If it is dynamic programming problem, is possible to use it, but the number of state variable keeps on increasing, then the computational difficulty comes. So classical example I can give, one is a dynamic programming problem with state variable as a continuous and number of state variables also more. At that time you will not be able to, though you will develop a dynamic program model mathematically, but you will not be able to use for real life problem to solve it. So you need to go for heuristic method. Another one is you have developed a mathematical model. It ends with a 0 integer linear programming model. Once the number of 0 variables keeps on increasing in a particular mathematical model, already people have established in various situations like traveling salesman problem, vehicle routing problem, even any either or option comes into the form of decision variable, number of the decision variable keeps on increasing. Those type of problems becomes computationally intractable when you want to solve it for a real life problems. So there, your model is very good. You have developed the mathematical model, but unfortunately, you will not be able to apply it to the real life situation. Then you need to go for alternative procedures. The another reason is we are using this heuristic method for learning purpose, like a simulations. So a lot of sensitive analysis, you can do it even before applying to the real life problems for change in values of parameters, or even if you want to do some layout changes. Okay, layout changes in the manufacturing organizations. Before even doing that one, simulate it and see that one, when I do this layout, whether my cycle time is improving or something. Even before applying to the real life, you can do that one. There, simulation is used. Simulation is one kind of heuristic method. The another place you would have come across, heuristic is a part of the iterative procedure also. So for example, simplex method. Simplex method, whenever you are trying to find out entering variable, we used to say that one always choose the most positive value in the case of maximization problem related to non-basic variable and make it as a basic variable in the next iteration where objective function value accelerate very fast. Let's say accelerate very fast. It doesn't mean that an always number of iteration will be less, that there is no guarantee. I can choose any positive value which are related to non-basic variable in the case of maximization problem to enter as a basic variable. Only thing, the number of iteration may be increasing or decreasing. But finally, I'll also end up with the same solutions instead of selecting most positive values. So that means they introduce, by and large, when I use this heuristic rule, most positive as a most positive value as a entering variable, accelerate objective function accelerated very fast, and number of iterations also likely to reduce it. That likely to reduce based on empirical evidence they proved it. That's the reason that heuristic is introduced. Even transportation problem. Okay, today people instead of going for two stage, they are trying to find out straight away in one method, try to find the final solutions. The initial basic feasible solution method, like whatever you know about it, Northwest Corner rule, least cost method, Vogel's approximation method, and so many methods people have developed. Okay, all are heuristic in nature. Without initial basic feasible solution, your second stage does not work. That is a UV method or that is Modi method or stepping stone method does not work. So that is a part of your optimization of a transportation problem. The another reason could be generally heuristic method is by design very simple to communicate to the user organizations, because all your thumb rule you can easily explain to them. If you are putting your everything in a mathematical form of checking everything and then going and convincing them or a user point of view is very difficult, because generally heuristic method by design may be simpler for the decision maker to understand, hence markedly increasing the chances of implementations. What I meant, so that you can easily go and say, first to motivate the users area, whatever the way you are using, the same thing I captured in the form of rule and computerized, added only small components. Otherwise, 90% of the my heuristic method is your own method only 10% I added, you will be very happy. But in most of the time, it's true also. Okay, and most of the time, our objective is not to find the optimal solutions. Okay, because many uncertainties are there related to data. So you need to go for some kind of non-quantifiable goals in mind. The last reason is almost all the mathematical model other than goal programming model, you are aiming for only single objectives. But in heuristic programming, if you want, you can simultaneously address multiple objectives also. So these are the possible reasons for heuristic method people are going for it. And there are different type of heuristic methods it's possible to do that. The one way of classifying the heuristic is your objective of heuristic method is to construct a solution. You are the one first constructing a solution. Okay, but using your solution, someone will develop another heuristic and try to improve upon it. That time it's an improvement method. Another is a mathematical programming based heuristics. What is mathematical programming based heuristic? Quickly, I can give one ideas. For example, you are developing a digital linear programming problem, but solving is a LP relaxations, and if the LP relaxation solution is acceptable with the rounding of solutions, then it's called one kind of mathematical programming based heuristics. Decomposition, again, like a dynamic programming problem, you can decompose the entire problem, and then only thing in a mathematically constructing the recursive model, you can heuristically do that one. In other words, that principles of optimality may not be satisfied, but still you will go through the entire dynamic programming process. Partitioning, restructuring of the space, like that. Many way people have classified. Anyway, we are not going all the things into that. Okay, just quickly, I can give one constructive procedures. You can easily understand what is a constructive procedures. Like a traveling salesman problem, I can just take it. Okay, what that one? Every heuristic when I apply, every iteration when I apply a heuristic, slowly the solution is getting constructed. That's why it's called constructive heuristic method. When every time when I apply the heuristic, slowly solution is getting constructed. When I go to the assume that when it's the 6th stage, I'm there. The first 5 stages, whatever the decision is taken, it is not available for my further evaluation with the remaining stage solutions. That's why generally it's called as a greedy in nature. And this diagram quickly gives some ideas. So nearest neighbor, always I'll use as a nearest neighbor as a heuristic or criteria or thumb rule. What is nearest neighbor? Whatever the place I'm there, from there nearest point I'll go. After going to that one, again from there nearest point I can go there. So it's what it goes like this. So this what the nearest, that's called as a nearest neighbor heuristic. Like that, people do some different heuristic, they name it something. This is a one kind of heuristic. People, many a time people say that one, depending upon the situations, it works well. Okay. What is improvement method? The same nearest traveling salesman problem I can give it. I just mentioned that one improvement method is the difference between the constructive heuristic and improvement method is constructive heuristic uses the raw data and construct the solutions, whereas improvement method uses initial solution along with the raw data, try to improve upon it. Okay, that's the main difference between the things. For example, I assume that one, this is the simple traveling science problem. There are starting from the city 1, he has to go to city 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he has to come back to city 1. Okay, the nearest neighbor, how it works from the starting city 1, what is the nearest place? 5th city is the nearest place, that is a 7 kilometer, assume that one. Okay, it goes to the 5th city. After going from 5th city, what's the theorem? From the 5th city, what is the nearest one? 3rd city is the nearest. Then after coming to the 3rd city, then what is the next nearest one? Like that, it can go easily that one. The nearest neighborhood is used, and this is the tour is formed. 1 to 5, 5 to 3, 3, 6 to 4, 4 to 2, 2 to 1. It's a simple concept is formed. So this tour, whether I can improve it or not. How do I improve it? There are various methods are there. One simplest method is, I can just give you systematically, semantically also you can understand. So there are 2 links, 1 to 5 and 3 to 6. I just break the link and then connect other points in such a way that one I'm supposed to get a closed route. So now instead of going to 1 to 5, I'm going to 1 to 3. Okay, and 5 to 3, then coming to 3 to 5, then 5 to 6. So these 2 links are broken, but everything is connected. I formed another route. Okay, this is the original route, this is another route. Like that, I can break all the 2 possible links. If I assume that on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 6 possible connections are there. Assume that on 6 C2 ways, I can break the links and reconnect and get a different routes. And each route I can calculate the distances using the raw data. Okay, and finally I choose the one which has the minimum distance. That time, that particular route is called 2 optimal route. Why it's called particular route is a 2 optimal? I completely enumerated all the possible breaking the link of 2 links and connecting that and form a new routes. And then finally I choose with the complete enumerations, which is a good one. That's why it's called 2 optimal route. Instead of 2 links you are breaking, you can do 3 links, you can break it and do that. 4 links you can do it and then do it. Like just the 2 optimal, 3 optimal, 4 optimal, or R optimal. This is one kind of route improvement methods. Like that, many methods are there. We are not going to that one. So this is called nearest neighbor with the 2 optimal, whatever I demonstrated. Okay. There are different improvement methods today you can come across. They generally called as a meta heuristics. So meta heuristics keep on increasing. It's normally inspired from various phenomena. It's inspired from the human nature, or inspired from the birds. See, for example, people say that one cuckoo algorithm, bat algorithm, and colonial algorithm. Okay, so many algorithms are there. Of course, our objective is not going to all the things, but each of these algorithm has some kind of specifically each algorithm is always trying to minimize something, the whole algorithms. And also there are all these meta heuristic is easy to classify that way. One way is some meta heuristic algorithm, given one solution, it will try to improve upon it. It is single point solution methods like simultaneous double search. Another set of meta heuristics, you need to give a set of initial solutions, not one solution, set of initial solutions that will try to improve upon it and finally arrive the best solutions. That is population based meta heuristic algorithms. That anyway, that quickly I can give that one. But here this is important for our entire discussion. How do I evaluate my heuristic algorithm, whether it is a constructive heuristic or whether it is a meta heuristics or whatever it is? Finally, I have to say whether my heuristic is good or not before implementing the real life situations. The first thing is you need to compare the quality of the solutions, comparing the benchmark procedure and see whether it is good or bad. And from a computational time point of view, for example, your heuristic is very good, but it takes about a longer time comparing with the existing practice, but the solution difference is very marginal. That means computational time also you need to compare it. Then difficulty of implementations. So assume that when your heuristic is going to be used by a small scale industry guy. The small scale industry people supposed to use it very frequently and then without any difficulties. Okay, at that time the difficulty of implementation and flexibility. What is the flexibility your heuristic is having in terms of adding some additional rule depending upon the we call it real-time events. Some real-time events are happening. Once upon a time it was a real-time events. Okay, now it becomes a routine events. That means that time the routine event becomes part of the real problem. Then your configuration changes. Then you have to introduce it. Some of this way you have to do that, but most of the time we are bothered about only quality of the solution, because the other things are invariably we are taking care of it. Because when you are going for heuristic method, computationally when it takes mathematical model more, I'm going for heuristic. That means computational time advantage, I'm already taking care of it through the heuristics. I don't need to check that one. Only thing, the flexibility and robustness, I have to do it as additional things in terms of what if analysis, sensitive analysis, I can introduce it into the heuristics. That is additional exercise. Okay, quality of the solution, when you want to do that one, first thing I said, you need to identify or you need to develop benchmark procedures. In case you are developing a mathematical model, only thing, the mathematical model is not in a position to use it for large scale problem or real life size problem, but still you can use it for small scale problem. That means at least I can compare my heuristic method solutions on a small scale problem, whatever the problem I'm able to solve mathematically, there I'm getting an optimal solution. I can compare with those small scale problem heuristically also. But only thing, whatever the comparison inference you are getting, that you cannot extrapolate, but still with pinch of salt, we can say that one, this may be working like that. But other way of doing that is comparing the tight lower or upper bound. This is easiest one. One way of getting a tight lower or upper bound is your own mathematical model. Assume that it is a integer programming model. LP relaxation is always gives lower or upper bound depending upon your minimization or maximization problem. Am I right? So that case, I can solve it as a LP relaxation problem, that I can use this as a upper bound or lower bound depending upon your objective functions. Estimated optimal solution, different methods are available. You can use one of the method and get benchmark solution procedures. So this is step 2 and 3 is developing your own benchmark procedure. Using your mathematical model, you can develop your benchmark procedure as a lower bound or upper bound for large scale problems. Using your own heuristic solution, if I'm having a 20 heuristic solution, heuristic method I'm having, using all the 20 heuristic solutions, I can use some kind of estimate optimal solution and get a use all these 20 solutions and get a estimate optimal solution. There are methods available. Other method, comparing with the enumerator methods, that means I can go for complete enumeration method comparisons. Okay, the comparison performance of the decision maker, the real life practice, what is there. Okay, other heuristic procedure. This other heuristic procedure is possible only when your problem configurations is exactly same like earlier problem configuration studied by earlier researchers. That time you can compare it. If your problem configuration is different, you cannot use a previous heuristic method and then compare it. Another is a worst case comparison. You have to compare with the random decision rule. This is the important one, because how your algorithm is going to perform in case if it is working not very good. How do I know that one? At least random decision rule, you have to compare it. What is random decision rule? I don't follow any systematic procedure, randomly take every decisions, whatever the solution I'm coming, I'm supposed to make sure it is feasible. What I meant, it is supposed to be feasible, all the constraints supposed to be satisfied. That means the random solution, when you compare with your heuristic solution, your heuristic solution always better than the random solutions. Not even one instance, it should be worse than the random solutions. Even if it is worse than one solution, random solution, when you compare that one, that time your heuristic is supposed to be questionable. You need to go and find out, even that one instant, it's supposed to be better than the random solution. You have to make sure that one by analyzing the solutions. Okay, now whatever the things I've given, I'll explain those things quickly through this recent paper that will clearly tells you how we have done it with respect to this quality of the solution, how we compared it. Okay. So the main reason for taking this particular paper or presentation is that the time required to get any optimal solution for any transportation problem, you know that one always depends upon the initial solutions. Even without going to the literature, even without going to the anything, because almost all people would have studied somewhere application research such a paper. If you use northwest corner rule and then try to go for UV method, takes the entire 3 hours for examination time. If you use least cost method and then try for UV method, you can save a lot of time compared to the northwest corner rule. In case if you are using VAM, going for optimal method using UV method, you may be within 5-10 minutes you will solve it. So this is one of the reason people are trying to give more better initial basic feasible solution method. They are always developing some initial basic feasible solution method. In the textbook knowledge is that VAM is superior to all other methods. So always they are tend to compare only VAM methods. Okay, that's why many researchers are continuously developing initial basic feasible solution method, and they are comparing the VAM and they are saying they are superior to VAM method. Another one is that most of the organizations, they don't even bother your so-called optimal solutions. Your initial basic feasible solution method is itself is acceptable to them as long as the solution is supposed to be close to the optimal solutions. Even here also we can say that on sometime UV method ends with the VAM ends with the optimal solution results following with the UV method. Okay, so that means people know that one. Even if you have a very good initial basic feasible solutions, from there going to the second stage and getting an optimal solutions, the difference between the optimal solution and the initial basic feasible solution is very marginal. They will even accept the initial basic feasible solution. They didn't want to go for the so-called second method like UV method or stepping stone method kind of things. Another important reason why people are continuously doing research in the case of initial basic feasible solution methods, lot of non-transportation problem. That means the problem where you are trying to formulate mathematically, there won't be any shipment movements. But still, if you formulate the problem, the formulation looks like exactly transportation problem. Set of supply constraint may be there, set of demand constraint will be there. Or when you put it in the tabular structure, it looks like a transportation tabular structure. So that's why many non-transportation problem can be solved using transportation methods. So these are the reason people are continuously developing initial basic feasible solution methods. But of course, based on our literature review we have come across, there are 105 initial basic feasible solution methods around the 2020 beginning we have come across. Afterwards also people have probably would have developed. Though there are 105 initial basic feasible solution methods we have come across, there are some kind of research methodologically there are some issues. The first one, whatever the studies people have reported so far, whatever the things we have come across, did not follow the required research process. When I make this one, I'm going to justify this one through my entire presentation. To claim that their method is performing better or superior to the benchmark procedure considered in their respective study. Why I'm making did not follow the required research process? Number one, they always, most of the people compare with only VAM. But when you want to solve, assume that when there is somebody is developing some heuristic method in the 2021, they cannot compare only with the VAM and say that mine is good. By this time, some X or Y or some professors or industry people would have developed an algorithm. They already proved their algorithm is better than VAM. At least along with the VAM, they have to compare the existing latest heuristic method. Many a time it is missing. Okay, the latest better performing methods they are not comparing. We have evidence also with that. Of course, that is not going there. Another one is interesting one. So I, Mathirajan, is a person developing a heuristic method for my research. Offered as a heuristic method I would have developed, but ethically it's not correct. People have done it. So I put all the 6 methods in 6 different journals simultaneously, comparing only with the VAM. But I'm supposed to compare my all 6 methods compared together. That they have not done it. So a few set of other proposed different methods published in different journals, but they never compared their own proposed methods together. Okay. Another interesting point is most of these people used tiny transportation problem, maybe about 3 by 4, 4 by 5, and we say 3 supply points, 4 demand points, 4 supply points, and 10 supply points. All these matrices, you know that one. So they not only almost all people from 1965 to 2020, we have come across uniquely the people have used 143 different size problem. When I say uniquely, some people have used, I used some numerical instance, same numerical instance used by somebody else, quoting my name. Mathirajan used this numerical instance, same numerical instance, I also used it. I compared with the VM, mine is better. So the uniquely 143 different tiny size transportation problems are reported in the literature. Okay, at least the entire 143 numerical instance people have not used it. At least starting with these are the 143 numerical instances. I am the first person comparing all my methods in comparison to VIM as well as the latest. It is missing. Okay. So this has motivated us to go for addressing these issues. Whatever we felt that one is a hypothesis. That means I said that one did not follow the required research process. I proved empirically as well as statistically some researchers' finding is not acceptable or it is totally contradicting. I'm going to show you the evidence. Okay, so that's one thing. And also we said that why that type of contradicting results coming, because they are mostly they're done only with the tiny instances, whereas we have done not only tiny instances, we have large scale problem instances also. I'm going to explain to you. Okay, before going to that one, most of the time this transportation problem, this concept of total opportunity cost matrix heavily utilized. Of course, we also did the same thing long back 2004 also, because this is one of the concept can be utilized as well as used even in the other industries also. People have used it. So I'll just explain this one first 5 minutes before going to other things. Other things I can go quickly. What is total opportunity cost matrix? Who has introduced this? In 1990, the set of people, Kirka and Satir, they developed an initial basic feasible solution method. They call it TOM, total opportunity method. Okay, total opportunity cost method. They call it TOM. So that particular method, based on their experimental design, they proved that method is better than the VIM. As usual, what people even now people are comparing the VIM. He compared at that particular time VIM, because that time it was not many research paper have come across, but he has done a very beautiful experimental design. I can explain to you. So what is this method says? So this is original transportation cost matrix, you know that one. From there you can get row opportunity cost matrix. You know how to get the row opportunity matrix. Again, from the original transportation cost matrix, get a column opportunity matrix. Okay, sum it up these two, that's called as a total opportunity cost matrix. So he has done from the original transportation matrix, he derived another matrix called total opportunity matrix. But the method remained the same. He applied only least cost method. He has not changed the existing method. Only thing, input to the existing method, he changed it. That method he called together, it's called as a total opportunity method. That means your least cost method, instead of applying to the transportation cost matrix, he applied to the total cost opportunity matrix to know the quantity to be allocated. But final transportation cost, if you want to get it, you have to use this one only. That's you all must be agreeing. In addition to that one, he has used a lot of tie breaking options. You need always tie breaking options looks good. But also we have proved afterwards tie breaking is not having in influence. In his study, he said tie breaking option has given influence. Okay, with this, he has developed this experimental design. For any transportation problem, you need these are the factors or variables equated problem size. That is number of supply points, number of demand points, and cost structure. Whether it is vary from say small interval 20 rupees to 30 rupees as a uniform interval, or 20 rupees to 100 rupees. The cost structure is very narrow in nature, very wide in nature, moderate, everything influences, and supply quantity also. So these all the things he made it as a uniform distribution, cost structure uniform distribution, supply uniform distribution, demand uniform distributions. Because in the research community side, as well as the practical point of view also, uniform distribution assumption is acceptable because it is one of the high variance distributions. It takes care of both worst case as well as the best case situations. So he has defined with respect to that one 48 problem configurations. What do you mean 48 problem configuration? He has taken first one problem configuration, assuming 10 supply point, 20 demand points, and the cost structure R value is taken as R and key value is taken as a 1. Okay, that means 1, so 10 by 20, 20 as a one problem configuration. 10 by 20, 20 and 2 is another problem configuration. 10 by 20, 20 and 5 is another problem configurations. Okay, like that you can take it 3 into 4 into 1, 48 problem configurations. For each of the problem configuration, randomly generate numbers and generate your required input data. That's why pseudo data. Okay, that's what he has done it. So 480 numerical instances he has taken. Large size, what he has taken is a 10 supply points and 60 demand points. If you see all our 143 numerical instances people have solved, almost less than 10 by 20 only people have used it. not even 10 by 20 size, except 2 papers. They taken, in addition to small scale problem, they taken only one real life problems like 3 supply points on 80 or 60 demand points related to industry data. Okay. Even heuristic problem, if you say that one, it's very good, I implemented in an industry, you cannot generalize. It is true for that particular industry for that particular moment. Even tomorrow, when the input changes for that particular industry, again, you have to run it. That's the important. That's the reason these different problem configurations are essential. Okay, what is his findings? He says that one, his method outperforms VAM. Okay, out of 480 problem instances he has considered, 372 problems, his method is performing better. Okay, so this is what is complete findings. And TOM, he says that one, provided optimal solution 134 instances, like a VAM ends with an optimal solution, am I right? TOM also ends with an optimal solutions. But he has proved VAM did not result any initial solution which turned out to be optimum, because for his numerical instances, this is true. Of course, we cannot generalize. He also not generalized. But what we found some kind of lacuna in this study, and also the concept of TOCM is good. Total opportunity cost matrix concept is very good, because it is making your data as a non-dimensionalized one. So if you remember, most of the time forecasting time also, people say that instead of using your own raw data, better to make it as a non-dimensionalized one and then do it. When you do non-dimensionalizing, there are two things are there. Even any outlier gets adjusted. Some kind of fluctuation gets adjusted or smoothing. Problem gets smoothing. For example, every demand data you can divide by mean values. So naturally that data gets, the variation will be reduced. That data you can apply and then predict something. Simple concept, I'm just saying that one. Of course, we are not going for advanced concept of forecasting methods. So similarly, this total opportunity cost matrix becomes like a non-dimensionalized one. So that's why it's a very good method. When we were reading this paper and we were trying to apply for another real life problems, when we were implementing that time, we realized that one, the comparison between what these people have compared it, particularly 480 numerical instance is solved here. Least cost method applied to total opportunity cost matrix and got the solution related to transportation cost values. The same 480 numerical problems, he solved VAM applying to here. He applied VAM in a transportation cost matrix, given all the 480 numerical instances. Okay. So what we felt, the input goes to these two methods are different. VAM is applied here, least cost method is applied here, but numerical instance 480 are common to both. Okay. Only thing is a derived matrix, whereas it's the original matrix. So we thought the comparison is odious during that time. So we thought instead of applying this VAM here, why don't you apply here? Then the comparison is meaningful. Instead of applying VAM here and comparing this method, I can apply Bessel method here for one instance. For the same instance, apply VAM here, then I can compare. That comparison is meaningful. That has triggered to us, and we have done that one, and we have done the same results. Quickly, I can tell you that's what we have done on one of our studies. LCM and VAM with the type breakers we have applied here. The same experimental design we have used it. Only thing, the numerical instance, whatever we generated, whatever the numerical instance generated in the previous paper may not be true, because if I want to get the same numerical instances, I need to have a same seed values. They use some random generating numbers. They generated 480 numerical instances. We also use some random numbers. We generated 480 numerical instances. This 480 numerical instance and that 480 numerical instance altogether differs because the seed numbers are different. So for this, what we have done it, we quickly analyzed it. So we can see that one, the TOM method is inferior to any of these VAM combinations. The original VAM without even applying to the total opportunity matrix. VAM can be applied to the transportation cost matrix, still it is good. So this is what we have found, that our observation is like this, and we have quickly give you that one. Surprisingly, the VAM outperforms the heuristic TOM provided by the earlier researchers, not for 480 problem instances, which is contradicting the results reported in their research article previously. All variants of PAM outperforms TOM. That's the important things. So even whatever they've done that's why this important point, the second point is very, very important for you to understand. It is sensitive to the number goes in. Whereas in the previous research, they said that one VAM is not even resulted a good results comparing the TOM, that 480 instances. Whereas these 480 instances, we are saying that VIM outperforms TOM. Okay, but only thing VIM applied to the same input data, whereas where VIM applied in a different input data. So from here, my objective of this particular presentation is to make use of this TOCM, total opportunity cost methods. Subsequent to these studies, many people have introduced TOCM as another options. They introduce a new initial basic feasible solution method. For that, transportation cost goes as a input values. The same method, they will apply TOCM as another input values. They call it two variants. So for the same method, two variants will get it. Method remain the same. Input goes to that method is one is the transportation cost matrix, another is a total opportunity cost matrix, as well as the transportation cost matrix. Transportation cost matrix also required for finally calculating the total transportation cost. So with that, we have also followed the same thing. I can quickly explain to you. So we have proposed first existing initial basic feasible solution methods we all studied, and these are the methods. Juman and Hogue 2015. He has used a new method applied only using transportation cost matrix, but not used TOCM. Then we thought, okay, we apply with the TOCM, then compared with his own method, then we'll find out what is the difference we are getting. Geeta and Anandi 2008, here also mistake. They also used only on transportation cost method. We want to apply with the TOCM. And this is Amalaya 2019. They applied only TOCM. Seeing that one already people have proved TOCM is better method, but there is no statistical evidence. If I am applying in the TOCM method, is always going to be good. There is no statistical evidence, but he has used new method only on the TOCM, not on the TCM. The 2020 also there is another person. He has applied only on transport original cost matrix, not on TOCM. And then another 2020 Babu et al. Applied only on transportation cost matrix. So these are the paper we have taken as an existing method with just our variation. We have not done anything great. Only thing, instead of TCM, we have given TOCM. In this case, instead of TCM, we have given TOCM. Only the input only we have given, and small programming point of view, the entire algorithm is coded. Their algorithm as well as this algorithm. Altogether, we have also developed 18 different methods. Effectively 9 methods, I can say that one. Each method accept one time transportation cost matrix as the input, another time it accepts TOCM as the input. So there are 9 different methods we have developed, 9 into 2. So we call say 18 new initial basic feasible solution methods we developed. So 18 plus 5, 23 methods we have claimed that one is a proposed method here. For that, we have compared benchmark procedures. Everybody is using VIM. Okay, that is Winston is a reference, and VIM and TOCM, because the first time we have used the VIM along with the TOCM by ourselves. And then Russell approximation method is a very good method. Only one of the authors has used and compared and then proved, but no one has used and compared in the subsequent time. So this Russell and approximation method, 2010, it is appeared in the textbook called Hillier and Lieberman. And this is the only researcher I used and then proved this method along with the TOCM is good. So like that, so you can see that one, these are the method, last 5 methods. You can see that one, existing TCM, we have modified to TOCM. Existing TCM, we applied as a TOCM. Existing TOCM, we applied as a TCM. Existing TCM, we applied as a TOCM. That's what you can see that one. So 11 existing methods we have taken, and we used 23 methods as a proposed method. All these 34 methods are compared and contrasted the entire research process. I'm going to explain to you. So in order to do that, of course, this I'm giving only just performing algorithms. Just quickly, I can explain to you. It's easy to follow this method. It's not a difficult one. Probably I can demonstrate through the numerical problem. You can easily find out. Assume that one I have taken this numerical instance. This numerical instance is given by 2015 Juman and Hogue paper. So, and also one more statement I've given in the motivation for this research. Thus, I politely removed it because out of 143 instances, many papers, they use some set of instances which are favor to them and claiming that as a good algorithms. Though those set of instances only they have used it, not entire 143 instances. So here I've taken this one to demonstrate our superior algorithm comparing with any of these 11 algorithms. Okay, so I'll just do that one. This when you solve it as an LP approach, you will get 8, not 9 as a solution. Please remember, I use this LP. You know that one transportation problem is an integer linear programming model. Though it's an integer linear programming model, we are solving as an LP because The transportation problem follows unimodular property. Any individual linear programming model follows unimodular property. You can solve it as an LP. There is a guarantee of getting an optimal solutions. So LP transportation problem is a linear programming model, individual linear programming model. It follows the unimodular property. Assignment programming problem follows unimodular property because that is also zero on individual linear programming model. So you are solving as an LP. There is a you should be getting an optimal solutions. Okay. So now this one first I'm getting total opportunity cost matrix. Row reduction, column reduction, then total opportunity cost matrix. So I'm getting these two matrices, then I'm adding that one, I'm getting that one. So now I'm going to apply this as an input matrix. I'm going to apply BAM, okay, or any of the method, but in our method, I'm going to apply it. So our method is called as a row, column, weighted, mean, some method names we are given. Don't bother about the methods. It's easy to see that one. First, what I'm saying that one, we are seeing that one every row and every column. So every row and every column, we are seeing the what is the minimum cost. Corresponding to that one, what's the feasible quantity I can decide in case if I want to go to that minimum cost cell. That also I'm deciding with row wise and column wise. Okay. And then what is the minimum cost allocation in case if I go and do that one, there is a cost is coming, right? Then the penalty cost, you know how to calculate it with the VAM. And each row and each column, we are calculating the penalty. Now this penalty with this minimum cost allocation, I'm calculating as a weighted minimum cost allocation. This is our terminology. So this last column, row wise, these values and column wise, these values I'm using for final decision related to allocation. So here, whichever has a maximum, that column or row I choose and decide allocations. Like VAM, what you do that one, calculate the penalty, highest penalty row or column you choose for it, and that in that particular row or column you decide allocations. But you are doing a multiple step here. That's it's a composite rule, we call it. Like a scheduling rule. The scheduling decisions, if it is a single criteria you're considering and composite criteria you're considering, most of the time composite criteria is superior to single criteria. Similarly here, I'm using a composite criteria. Finally, this weighted minimum cost allocation is a composite criteria, and then cost, and that I'm using that one. So this particular column I have to decide, and in that particular column, what's the minimum cost I'm trying to allocate it. Okay, so I'm just allocated here 8 units. My data is changed. This column is eliminated. So remaining the same thing you are trying to do that. I think you can understand. This column is eliminated. Remaining you are doing that one. So the row is getting allocated in the second iterations. Okay, so I'll just finish this one. Okay, and it ends with the 809. Of course, this numerical instance ends with 809. I cannot say every time it ends with the same LP solutions. Okay, so now I want to make sure whether how good these algorithms, all these 34 algorithms, particularly 23 proposed by us in comparison to 11 existing algorithms, going to be good. For that, I'm using the same experimental designs. Same experimental design given by the Kirka and Satir in 1990, because many people have used it afterwards. Many, when I say that, only 3 or 4 people, not many people, sorry to that, only 3 or 4 people have used it because it's supposed to be a good experimental design as of now. So we extended the same experimental design, only they added one more size, 10 by 100. Previously only 3 levels were there, now I made it 4 levels. When it was 3 levels, 3 into 4 into 4, 48 configurations were there. Now 4 into 4 into 4, 64 configurations. So for each configuration, 10 problem instances were generating. All others remain the same. Only the size is increased one here. So now, as usual, benchmark procedure is required. In my case, because everybody knows that one transportation problem, you can solve it as an LP and get an optimal solution quickly. So I can get optimal solution by solving LP. One thing you can ask, sir, already you are able to solve through LP, then why should I go for heuristics? Because most of the time, if you want to solve it as an LP, you need to have a package like Cplex, Lindo, Lingo, and persons like analytical person to solve it, and they have to go and interpret the solution to the companies. The large scale company is not a big problem, and moderate medium company also, but assume that when there is a small scale company, they want to use it. They don't want to go for this type of sophisticated optimal solution procedure. If somebody is able to develop some simple procedure and put it in the simple PC, and then it is a mouse click, they are able to solve it without any optimization package tool, and able to demonstrate the interpretation of the solutions, then they are very happy about it. Even there is a marginal difference between the optimal solution and the heuristic solutions. So that's why heuristic solution, especially for transportation problem, is better. I mean, most of the time people like it. That's the reason people are developing continuously initial basic feasible solution method also. So here for our benchmark procedure, I can use LP solution straight away. Performance analysis, I'm having a two type of performance analysis, empirical performance analysis and statistical performance analysis. In the empirical performance analysis, I'm using 3 performance measures. See, one performance measure is sufficient in any case. For example, empirically, I want to compare it. I can use one of the empirical performances available in the literature. But today, people are expecting more than one performance measure. Can you use it and find out whether they are getting the same inference or not? So if you are able to apply 2 or more than 2 performance measures, you are able to apply the same performance inferences, that time you are triangulating your research, or you are giving a better communication about your findings, in other words. So more than one performance measure can be used. If you are able to get the same inferences with respect to each and every performance measures, finally you can say that when I triangulated all these 3 performance measures, my result is consistently giving the same inferences. So it gives a further authentication about your results, more than one performance measures. Sometimes this is more than enough. If you are using more than one performance measure, that's more than enough. But the statistical performance measures nowadays, since somebody started already proving statistically also, so every research paper, why don't you give a significant of your performance of your evaluations? So now people have started to give a lot of statistical performance measures. So this paper, even initially we have not used multiple performance measures, 1 or 2 only we used it, but for this particular paper, we have used around 5 statistical performance measures. Each one has a different purpose. I can explain to you. What is this average relative percentage deviation, integrated rank, and number of times close to optimal solution? This last one is easy to understand, number of times close to optimal solutions. Integrated rank also I can explain to you closely. This is the quickly I can explain to you. The deviation, first you have to calculate it. That means your solution, how much deviated from the benchmark solutions. That is called deviations. In addition to that one, your solution, how much deviated from the benchmark solutions, divided by your benchmark solution gives the relative deviations. And then if you multiply with 100, it gives the percentage deviations. Okay, this average relative percentage deviation, if you remember, each configuration I'm taking 10 instances. Instead of comparing each and every instance with respect to one configuration, over 10 instances, how it performs, average analysis more than enough. So I can have 64 comparison instead of 640 comparison in the analysis, because I have 64 configurations, each configuration 10 instance results I can average it out. That's called average relative percentage in ARPD. Over 10 instances, what is the result of this relative percentage deviations with respect to one configuration? Like that, 16 configurations. This integrated is equivalent. I'll explain this one. So instead of comparing only how many times out of 640 instance algorithm 1 given best solutions. That is comparing only the best solutions, how many times it has given, but that may not be a good indications. So we are going for integrated rank. It's like a weighted ranking methods. It is similar to this one. Assume that one in a class test of 10 times, if you are giving in a particular classroom, a particular student is getting first rank once, and 2 times second rank, 4 times, etc. different ranks. Okay, whereas one student is consistently getting second rank. So if you apply the integrated rank, so integrated rank says that one consistently getting a second rank fellow gets first positions. Whereas assume that when there is a fellow 8 times he got first rank, only 2 times he got 4th rank and 5th rank. He will not become a supermost boy in that overall results. So the integrated rank easily find out that one. Instead of comparing how many times first rank you got it, that is not matter. How many times out of 640 instances, first rank you got it, second rank you got it, third rank you got it, up to, in the case of say assume that one 34 algorithms are there, how many times 34th rank you got it. So like that we will calculate each and every algorithms, how many times he got first rank, second rank, third rank, up to 34th rank, because 34 algorithms are there. So that we can use it as a weighted rank methods. That time this also similar to ARPD. So that's why we can use these two and triangulate whether it gives the same inferences or not. Similarly, the number of times close to optimal solutions. So that also we have used it. So now I'll just quickly show the results and then give the inference. Mostly you can easily understand that one. The first, instead of even comparing the new proposed method, first I want to compare with the existing initial basic feasible solution. There are 11 methods are there, am I right? 11 methods are existing methods. The same existing method, only 5 methods are extended by us, are given a new variants. Okay, instead of TCM, we just change only TOCM. Otherwise, all other remain the same. So just we put all these as a existing methods. We don't want to call that 5 proposed method as our own proposed method. We put it in the existing methods. We want to find out what is the inference we are going to get it. The reason why we are trying to do that one, people already proved, comparing with the VAM, their method is superior. Okay, that's whether it's coming out of these 11 plus 5, at least 16 methods. Okay, this number 600 tells you how many times it has given a better result comparing with other methods. For example, this particular method, comparing this method 600 times given a better results. Each and every cell gives the similar meaning. But another thing also, how many times each of this method exactly resulted similar to that results. So this is what another results. One is better than that, exactly similar to that one. So from there, what is the observation is important. So the 16 initial basic feasible solution we call the existing methods, okay, are performing better than their respective existing initial basic feasible solution methods. What means that one, all these green fellows are, we just made it as a kind of, instead of TCM, we applied onto the TOCM, except one method. That one method also, they applied TOCM, whereas they have not applied TCM. So we just made it as a TCM. So our inference says that one, the so-called proposed variant by us performing better than their respective existing initial basic feasible solution method based on the 640 instances, number one. Second one, for example, this is applied to the TCM and this is coupled with the TCM, both are similarly happening. That's okay, except the proposed variant one method, JHMIZ. In this case, both are performing very well. Interesting one is Russell approximation method, another is MTM method, applied on total cost matrix and coupled with total opportunity cost matrix, are relatively outperforming in comparison to other existing method considered in this study. The existing method, these two are, but they never compared this one, or most of the people, they compare only with the VAM. They could have compared this one also. And also these are latest method, MTM is a latest method. The existing method VAM coupled with the TOCM, VAM applied on TCM are outperforming comparing all existing methods. This is important, except the existing methods RAM, MTM. But all people, whatever people have already said that one, their method is superior to VAM. Whereas our experimental says that one, VAM is still, it's good. Of course, except Russell's approximation method and MTM. That means these, whatever the people have claimed, they have claimed only through the smallest or tiny numerical problem, not large scale problem. Okay. So the weak experimental design, that's why we infer that. Why I'm saying that one, the specific observation is against the research claim in the respective studies. This is due to weak experimental design. Of course, they have not even done experimental design. They've just taken a tiny problem instances. By and large, the method coupled with the TOCM outperforming or similar to the same method TCM. Either it's outperforming or similar to the TCM. What did some communicate here? Always try with the TOCM straight away. According to this numerical instance, for the 640 instance says that one, any method coupling with the TOCM is good. Either it gives a better solution or similar to at least transportation cost matrix method. Of course, whatever the statement I made it, empirical evidence, 640 instance, whether statistically true or not, we have to do that one. Of course, we have done it. So now here I'm using now entire 34 methods. Our objective is to compare new proposed methods. There only existing methods we compared. Of course, in the existing method, we put our proposed method, proposed variant also. So all these green colors are called our own methods, and maroon color is called existing methods. Okay. This we have used performance result I rank. So the interpretation says that one, this particular method, the fourth method, whatever the method, the I rank says 1 out of 640 instances after solving, and then you computed the I rank, then calculator give the I first rank. Similar to that one, 10 test, there is a student 8 times got first rank, 2 times got fifth rank, assume that one. Then you have to find out what's the integrated rank for you. Another student got all the 10 times second rank. What's the integrated rank for him? So that is called integrated rank. Okay. So this is the integrated rank. According to this integrated rank, we have given some kind of inferences. Of course, the same thing gives some kind of schematic diagram. I mean, the graphical format also. And see that one. This is the first 18 algorithm are proposed directly by us, and then 11 algorithm is the existing algorithm, and last 5 is again proposed by us. You can see that one. All these lowest integrated rank values are there in the first 4 algorithm. Again, here the 2 algorithms. All other integrated ranks values are more. Like the graph system, in the graph you can see that one. The main observation is there are 6 algorithms proposed by us having the rank 1 to 6. Okay, rank 1 to 6 out of 34 integrated rank. Our proposed algorithm are having first 1 to 6, and 7 to 10 existing algorithm also got a rank. Of course, I have not put this one. 7th rank, 8th rank, up to 10th rank, existing algorithm got as a rank based on the integrated rank. Why these things 6 all got top 6 rank? All these 6 algorithms are using composite criteria to decide allocation quantity. And also here also we have said that one TOCM are outperforming when comparing with each of the same initial basic method applied on TCM. Because if you see that all the 34 algorithm I'm going to give afterwards, 34 divided by 2, 17 set of algorithms have used it. Each of the algorithm one time used TCM, another time used TOCM. Algorithm remained the same, only input reverse. There are 17 sets. That also we have pairwise comparison also, t-test also we have used it, whether any significant difference is there within that. That we can do that afterwards. But comparing with this as of now, TOCM are outperforming. That means when you apply any time, whenever you develop a heuristic method for transportation problem, develop a TOCM or total opportunity cost matrix. On that you apply, then there is a possibility that one that gives always better results, at least equivalent to at least TCM also. This must be verified again statistically. We have done it afterwards. The I rank is observed. The research claims whatever they made it with respect to this JHM, etc., are not becoming true. So whatever they said, their method is superior to VAM. When you go and see that rank, VAM is getting a better rank than JHM, TCM. These are all existing methods. Okay, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 into 2. So again, I said that one they use only 4 to 31 very small size numerical. Some people have used only 4 numerical problems. Some people use 5 numerical problems. Only a set of people have used 31 numerical problems. I also said that one mostly they have taken a favorable instances out of 143. This observation on contradicting finding clearly indicates that heuristic method is sensitive to the input numbers. We don't want to say that when they are wrong or right. Since they have taken some inputs, it has given a good results. For some other input, it may not give a same inference. So they have to understand that one. Every heuristic is sensitive to the number goes into that. That's the reason different numbers you have to give it and find it out. For example, in the transportation problem, the cost range is small. That is, everything is between the transportation cost is 10 rupees to 20 rupees. Uniform distribution is different from 10 rupees to 100 rupees. Okay, 10 rupees to 50 rupees. So that really matter for us. So the another one we have done it, another performance measure NCOS. There is number of times it's getting optimal solutions. Same inference we got it, triangulation things. Another performance measure, average relative percentage deviations. Whatever the inference we discussed with respect to I rank, here also true. So graphically also you can see that one. You can see what are these algorithms already performed in terms of average relative percentage deviations, how much it is deviated from the optimal solutions. So whatever it comes almost along the x-axis, that means the relative deviations tends to 0. Okay, this tends to 0 to 1%, like that. Okay. So now we have done this one with respect to ARPD score, both existing and proposed variants of existing methods. Various analysis we have done. This is with respect to ARPD score. So now we'll come to the statistical part, because we have done empirically whatever the inference we got with respect to I rank. Similar inference we were able to get it with the other performance measure ARPD and NCOS. Now we'll see whatever the results we thought, okay, it's supposed to verify statistical also, we are going to do that. So first we have used a randomized block design model. So it's self-explanatory. For that, we made this hypothesis. The hypothesis says that when there is no treatment effect, that is, there is no performance difference between 34 initial basic feasible solution method considered in this study. That is the null hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis, there is a treatment, that is at least one initial basic feasible is different from others. We want to find out. If second is important to us, if it comes, it's always meaningful, having 34 different solutions. If the null hypothesis is true, then all these 34 question of 34 numerical, 34 initial basic feasible solution, we should not talk about it. So what it says that on our results. For that, ANOVA was used. The p-value are less than 0.05. The null hypothesis has been rejected, and the conclude there is a significant difference between the performance of the initial basic physical solutions. Significance, but still we need to say, okay, which treatment or which algorithms out of these 34, okay, are similar and which are different. Significant is out of 34, some may be similar, some may be different. Okay, that we need to find out. For that, another statistical test, we have used it. The observation clearly indicates that no statistically significant difference between the top performing newly proposed initial basic feasible solution methods, like 6 algorithm from our proposed method, 4 algorithm from existing. This is endorsing the observation made already in that. But this is still not clear to me. I'll do some other methods. Another method also there, you'll get some more clarity in this. So you can group all these 34 methods, and say which are similar, which are different. So top 10 algorithms, 6 are from proposed algorithm, 4 are from existing algorithm. You can see that one. Formed in one group, identify 10 homogeneous subsets among 34, better performing variants, and statistically different from all other variants. These are different from this group. This is different group. Each and everything is different from each groups. So this particular statistical test will also group and then tells you which are similar, which are different. So another one, we have done it. There are 17 out of 34 initial basic solution we grouped into 17 pairs. Why 17 pairs? Everything differs in terms of only the input. Okay, there is a method 1 which has TCM as an input, which has a TOCM as an input. Method 1. Similarly, method 17 into 34 methods, completely our methods. So we want to find out paired sample t test. Of course, this is called. We want to find out the solution from TCM. Applying input goes as a TCM, input goes as a TOCM. Whatever solution we are getting, the solution remains the same, equal to 0, null hypothesis. The input goes as a TCM, input goes as a TOCM. The solution difference is not equal to 0. That means both are different results. So that's our alternate hypothesis. So we want to find it out through the t-test. So our t-test results I can discuss you here. The correlation coefficient for each of the 17 pairs are either 1 or 0. That means related to each other and highly correlated. No statistically significant difference between 9 pairs of initial basic physical solution. There are 9 pairs. Of course, all these 9 pairs out of 17 pairs, 9 pairs says that one, whether you use TCM as an input or TOCM as an input, your results will remain the same as the p-values are greater than 1. That there is no impact on TOCM on the 9 pairs of IBM. That means either you can use TCM or TOCM. But remaining 7, there is an impact. There is a statistical significant difference remaining 8, 9 plus 8. There is a 8. So that's the reason one significant inference we have done it in the case of empirical evidence. Applying TOCM, either you will get better results or similar to the TCM results. Same thing here. Here in this case, all these 17 algorithm apply. In this 9 case says that one, TOCM results with the same TCM results. Whereas in these 8 cases, TOCM gives the better results. Mean difference of all the 8 pairs are large positive numbers. That means initial basic feasible solution method coupled with the TOCM on these 8 cases performing better than applying onto the TCM. So in general, we can say that one, any initial basic visible method coupling with the TOCM is always good, because either it gives the same results like TCM or better results than TCM. But we are done with the parametric test. T-test is a parametric test. People, some statistics people also, no, before applying the T-test, you should have checked normality, this assumption, that assumptions. So we are operations management people. We don't want to go statistically to that extent. Instead of using that type of test, we use both parametric test and non-parametric test. We want to again find out whether it is giving the same inference. In other words, triangulations. So non-parametric test also we applied. Main observation also here also it's the same thing. Okay. So there is no difference at all. So overall, our of course here itself I mentioned. Okay, the same results comes here. Overall, our conclusion of this particular study says that one, we propose 23 heuristics method for getting an initial basic feasible solution. Out of 23, 18 are new, 5 are modified, or in other words, a variant of existing methods. And to prove whether these 23 methods are consistently giving better than the existing results, we identified the benchmark procedure, and also we developed experimental design using whatever the experimental design is acceptable in the literature. The same thing we have taken, extended by additional problem dimension, so that number of configuration is increased to 640. And then whatever the observation we have done it, out of 18 newly proposed algorithms, 6 are outperforming comparing with the remaining heuristic algorithm considered in this study. Okay, the reason for why these 6 algorithms are performing better than the remaining algorithm considered in the study is 6 means remaining 28. The main reason could be composite index we have followed in this one, comparing the any other. Some are also using composite index, but less composite levels. So overall, 11 existing initial methods. There are 4 methods are topping. Out of 11, there are 4 methods are coming to the top rank. Those 4 are coming as after 6 in the proposed method, 7th rank, 8th rank, 9th rank, 10th rank. Topping 7th, 10th rank. Not much difference between when you apply any initial basic visible method with it, either TCM or TOCM. When I say not much difference, either it gives the better results or same results. That's one thing. Always TOCM, considers that TOCM is better as per statistically as well as empirically we proved in this case. Anytime you can straight away go for TOCM. But anyway, coding point of view, both are same. So better to try both also in a decision support system environment, so that let the decision support system will find out which is good one. That is one of our future research. I have mentioned it in the next slide. And also computational time takes very meager based on our system. So somebody wants all the 34 algorithm, they can run it in the decision support system environment, but it's not good method. So we can develop some decision support system, allow all these 6 algorithms put inside, even 6 or even 4, 10 algorithm also you can put it to consider the existing method. Internally, it will run through and then find out the best one for every numerical instances, whatever it goes, and then that can be used as a better results for any real life situations. That is one kind of future research we have pointed out. Another one also, what we mentioned that one, if you remember, whenever the problem is unbalanced, we are introducing a dummy, either dummy supply or dummy demand. This entire problem, all these 640 instances, we have used as a 0 as a transportation cost. Mathematically, it's acceptable, but in the real life, whenever you are using dummy demand, okay, because supply is more, dummy demand, am I right? That means there is a quantity, you are going to keep it in the inventory. We are not completely dispersing to the demand points. Some are going to lie in the supply point itself. That means that attracts some inventory cost. That means if I can bring the inventory cost component with respect to dummy demand situations, similarly in the case of dummy supply, there is a demand, but there is no sufficient supply. That means you are losing the customer. So that means you are introducing a dummy supply, but saying that one you are going to supply. But in the reality, it is not really happening. Naturally, the customer will lose, you will lose the customer. That means there is a cost also, you can do that one. Okay, we call it a shortage cost or penalty cost. Instead of giving 0, 0, 0 as a kind of dummy demand, dummy supply as a transportation cost, we can go for introducing some more parameters in the experimental design, call it as a kind of dummy supply time. You can say that one penalty cost, dummy demand times you can introduce as a inventory cost. That time it will be meaningful experimental design you get it. That one can run through all that. That is another future research direction. The last one, what we mentioned, that one, this problem can be solved easily for facility location problem or fixed cost transportation problem also by fine tuning that. I'll just stop this one. Any question and answer, I'll happy to answer it.
Thank you very much, sir, for your exhaustive presentation. And as you know, this is close to one of my research area also,
Yeah.
where my students
Yeah,
are
I know.
working. Yeah, so I got lot of very good inputs, and I have lot of questions also, but probably I will discuss those questions at some other point of time. Right now we are running out of time, but one small question quickly I'll ask you, if you allow me to
No
ask.
problem. Anything.
So you said you have generated no pseudo problems,
Yes.
like for your transportation for various sizes.
Yes.
You have developed pseudo problems.
Okay.
So I want to know, to develop those pseudo problems, it's you have used some kind of random number generation, I guess. Am
Yes,
I right?
yes. Naturally, you have to generate random number only.
So those random number generation, what you have done, you have used that codes which are like inbuilt functions which are already available in
Yes,
MATLAB.
you are right.
In MATLAB
Actually,
or Python.
no, this is completely, this particular exercise is done by the second author,
Okay.
a BTech IT fellow from Mangalore.
Acha.
Okay, so he has used Python code. Python also has an
Python.
inbuilt random sequence.
Yeah, that's what
Or
I wanted.
Excel also, somebody use Excel also, it is there.
Excel, I have never tried. I've tried always in Fortran or C.
Yes,
I have tried,
even
but
when
MATLAB also has that.
you are right. When I wrote a program, Turbo C++, I used it. That time also generated random number.
Yeah.
Okay, that is possible.
Yeah. And sir, I have a lot of questions, but maybe I will speak to you some other time, one-to-one basis. But here I see there are a couple of questions in the chat box. One is simulated annealing is heuristic. I think you already answered for that. It is meta heuristic.
Okay.
Simulated annealing is heuristic, somebody has asked. I think one of your slide you have mentioned it as a meta heuristic.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and one more question is, sir, what would be the best way to tackle non-linearity?
See, in heuristic, there is no question of tackling. Automatically, you can tackle it easily. That is advantage of heuristic method. Okay. So what is a non-linearity? You have to go and check it whether that value, whatever you are substituting, whether it's satisfying or not. I don't need to worry about non-linear or linear in the case of heuristic method. See, when the mathematical model comes, then only you will be worried about it, whether there is, because not every non-linear situation will end up with the optimal solutions. Mathematically, if there is a possibility of transferring that non-linear into linear, and then there is a possibility of getting an optimal solutions. Of course, Lindo, Lingo, or CPLUX has some kind of features. Even if you put a non-linear programming model into the system, it will try to solve it. In case you get optimal solutions, that means some of the non-linear function, whatever you are having in the mathematical model, there is a transformation function facilities available in the package.
Okay.
Okay. Even if you want somebody, you can go and read in the manual of the Lindo or Lingo. There is a mentioning. But in the real life, there is no guarantee that once if you become a non-linear programming model, it always, most of the time, it gets into concave situation. Am I right?
Yes.
If it is a concave, there is no question of guarantee get an optimal solution.
Correct.
Heuristic, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Whether it's linear or non-linear, that's not a problem.
Yeah. Yes. True. So, any other questions from the audience? So I don't see any more questions there, sir. And if there are any, we will come back to you.
Okay.
And thank you very much for the wonderful session. Shashirekha, may I request you to conclude the session?
So thank you, sir, for your wonderful session. So now we will resume at 1:50 for the third session of the day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really wonderful. For me, it was very interesting
thank
because
you,
similar to my area. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Right.